I have to admit that I'm one of the people who wipes my feet on the Middle Ages. I think of it as that unfortunate little bit that happened between the Romans and the Renaissance.
You really have bought Renaissance propaganda. That's what you've done. The people who called themselves humanists in the Renaissance, and who were really more accurately philologists, they were the people who, as a broad category, were the first people in many hundreds of years to be able to read ancient Greek. And they were so enamored of what they had done, and so wanted to identify themselves as, in effect, reborn ancient Athenians, that they decided that everything that happened between them and the Greco-Roman period, going backwards, was barbarism, was the Middle Ages, and was to be looked down upon. They were the ones who invented the term the Middle Ages. They were the ones who called medieval architecture Gothic, that is to say, barbaric. They were extremely certain of themselves and extremely wrong.
Science.
Well, we think of all sorts of weird things going on in the Middle Ages, and indeed they did. There were all these alchemists trying to change mud into gold, which may seem silly to us, but the underlying idea was that they understood that everything was made up of molecules, and somehow it must be possible to change one substance into another. They weren't just interested in changing mud into gold. They were interested in changing anything into anything else to see if they could make it happen. They become the world's first chemists. They develop the world's first chemistry labs. They are the proto-scientists of the Western world.
And they do discover some interesting things on the way to never ever discovering how to change lead into gold.
Right, if only they had, I suppose. They were feared, many of them, because simple people thought of them as sorcerers, magicians who could, because they could do things. They were able to manipulate the physical world. They weren't just crackpots. So that, you have, for instance, Roger Bacon showing his students, as they thought of it, how to bring a rainbow to Earth by using glass beads that would separate white light into its spectrum of colors. They thought, this guy can bring a rainbow to Earth. Wow. So, of course, he knew what he had done and why he was doing it, and he tried to explain that to them. But that kind of manipulation frightened many people. And so the scientists were not always respected, but they were almost always onto something. But Roger Bacon at Oxford he actually predicted the invention of the steamship, the invention of internal combustion for automobiles, and he, in his last years, just before he died, was trying to build an airplane. He's trying to build an airplane in the early 14th century.
Dinner party. You can invite 4 of the people from your book to the dinner party, and I like dinner parties that aren't boring, so you can have people who are liable to throw buns at each other. Who would you have from the book?
I would say almost more than anyone, the person I would like to have known is the painter Giotto. I think Giotto is just, he might not have much to say, but boy, could he paint. he was just so, his paintings are so beautiful and so deep and so plain and so straightforward. So filled with richness and depth of color. What an eye, what a hand the man had.
The book isn't just text. You've got paintings, you've got architecture, you've got it's a beautiful book.
Well, we wanted the book, I say we, because not as the editorial we, but myself and Nan Talese, who is the publisher of the book. We wanted it to remind the reader, as one reads through it, of a medieval text. It isn't a medieval text, it's a modern book, but
it's almost illuminated though. I mean,
we wanted to decorate it, we wanted these things at the margins to, because the Middle Ages is extremely playful and jolly. There's an awful lot of fun in the Middle Ages. And that a lot of that shows up in those illuminated manuscripts with funny little people peeking through the foliage at you and that sort of thing, and strange beasts staring out at you. And so we wanted that feeling to be there, which I hope we have achieved.
The book is Mysteries of the Middle Ages, The Rise of Feminism, Science, and Art from the Cults of Catholic Europe. I've been speaking with the author, Thomas Cahill, and Mysteries of the Middle Ages, published by Doubleday.